Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Karnia Remiko from BPI 2020 and 21D. Here I will explain about the branch of linguistics. First is the definition of linguistic. Linguistic is study of language. Linguistic is concerned with human language as a universal and recognizable part of human behavior and the human ability. Linguistic is competence as being a person potential to speak a language, and his or her linguistic performance as the realization of that potential. And the branch of linguistic to the intricate structure of language and their far-reaching impact. There are various subfield, domain, and specialist branches of linguistic. Here are the main branches of linguistic with example. But first is the file. I will, I will give you about the file of linguistic is as and cover a range of different subfiles. Here are the mains. Here are the main branches of linguistic. First is psycholinguistic, the psychological aspect of language and linguistic. And then social linguistic, the study of the impact of society and language in linguistic. And third is applied linguistic, the study of real life application of linguistic. And then computational linguistic, the study of spoken and written language in computation and programming. And then comparative linguistic, the study of similar and dissimilar aspect of common origin language. And then historical linguistic, the study of evolution and origin of language. Uh, Last is stylistic, the study and interpretation of style and tones in language. First is I will explain about psycholinguistic. Psycholinguistic is among the most popular branches of linguistics that study the relationship between psychological process and linguistic behavior. An example of psycholinguistic is found in the study of how humans perceive language and why certain words have the capacity to trigger us emotionally, more so than other words. Such branches of linguistics also seek to understand how humans acquire and master language. Psycholinguistics is often worked with the child psychologists and conduct research on speech and language development to understand how humans perceive and produce language. And then we have sociolinguistic. This is another one of those branches of linguistics that serve a crucial function in our understanding and application of linguistics. Because language is a deeply human and social construct, sociolinguistics deal with the effect of different aspects of society on language. On, on top of that, is studies the interaction of language as people from different culture and heritage interact. One example of sociolinguistics is the emergence of different dialects of a language, as is the study of language conventions such as in Hindi and English being spoken together as English. And then applied linguistic involves the practical of use of linguistics to solve real-life problems. Linguists make use of other fields such as sociology, psychology, anthropology, and others to better understand how to apply the study of linguistics to help people and solve real-world concerns. It is best to understand such branches of linguistics with example. Applied linguistics can be seen in speech therapy, translating text from different cultures or acts, and even in the process of second language acquisition. Computational linguistics. This is a relatively new branch of linguistics that deals with the use of language by computer and program. Such branches of linguistics leverage computer science to analyze, model, and produce speech. One example of computational linguistics is the all-driven Google Assistant that uses natural language processing and speech recognition system to do your writing. And then comparative linguistics, as the name suggests, this branch is associated with identifying similarity and difference between languages that have a common origin. For instance, Romance languages like Italian, French, and Spanish differ in speech and construction even though they all originate from Vulgar Latin of the Roman era. Studies in comparative linguistics also include studying distant languages, such as Sanskrit and German, that are separated by thousands of kilometers in years, but which nevertheless have structural and etymological similarities. And then historical linguistics. This is one of the more intriguing branch of linguistics. It studies the evolution of language over a period of time and analyzes the change that took place within them. One of the purposes of this branch is the examination of dead language, such as Latin, Sanskrit, and other, and the emergence of current language from them. Historical linguistics also enable us to reconstruct earlier states of language to understand how grammar, semantics, and phonetic can change over time. And then stylistic. This is another of the important branch of linguistics. This is the study and interpretation of style and rhetoric as employed by different authors within a language. Oftentimes, such interdisciplinary branches of linguistics include the study of literature, which lets one analyze symbolism, rhyme and rhythm, dialogue, sentence structure, and other. For example, the language used in political and advertising is very different from that of religious texts and classical literature. The analysis is often come within the domain of analysis of stylistics. And about phoneme in linguistics, smallest unit of speech, distinguishing one word or word element from another as the element P in type and which separate that word from type, like, and time. Phoneme may have more than one variant called allophoneme, and which function as a single sound. For example, the piece is of tap, spat, and tap. Differ slightly phonetically, but that difference, determined by context, has no significance in English. In some languages, where the parent sounds of P can change meaning, they are classified as separate phonemes. In Thai, the aspirate P pronounced with an accompanying of I and unaspirate P are distinguished one of from the other. Phonemes are based on spoken language and may be recalled with special symbols, such as those of the International Phonetic Alphabet. In transcription, linguists conventionally place symbol for the phoneme between seisma. The term phoneme is usually restricted to vowel and consonant, but some linguists extend its application to cover phonologically relevant difference of pitch, stress, and rhythm. Nowadays, the phoneme often has a less central place in phonological theory than it used to have, especially in American linguistics. Many linguists regard the phoneme as a set of simultaneous distinctive features rather than as an unanalyzable unit. And phoneme is a minimally distinctive set of sound in language. Sound sequence which differ in a single phoneme can constitute different words. Thus, the pair dip and trip so that the English has two distinct phonemes, which we can write as T and D, since substituting one of the other brothers a different word. However, the pronunciation of T and D is not the same in each part. The tongue is further back in the mouth when T is followed by R. Hence, there are at least two phones corresponding to the T phoneme. And however, there are no two English words in which the only difference is that T sound in trip is replaced by the T sound in tip. There is two sound area allophones of the same phoneme. English speakers do not need to recognize the difference between them. And I will explain about the phonetic. Phonetic is the study of the sound of speech. It can be distinguished from phonology, which is more concerned with the underlying theory. The phonemes which underlie phones and the rules which govern the conversion of phonemes to phone and vice versa. And about phonological rule, at some theoretical level, word can be considered to be composed of phonemes. The actual sound of a word then depends on which allophone is chosen for its phoneme. The context sensitive, the rules which determine this is are called phonological rules. Thus, the word input can be considered to contain the phoneme. However, in fast speech in many dialects of English, the phone use will be um, and the relevant phonological rule for English is that a nasal become articulate at the same position as a following stop. And about listen and learn, the different intonation of the noun and the verb, intonation or noun or verb. It's like to conflict a conflict, to contest a contest, to contract a contract, to convert a convert, to conflict a conflict, and other. And I will explain about the morphemes in linguistic. A morpheme is the smallest semantically meaningful unit in a language. The field of study dedicated to morphemes is called morphology. A morpheme is not identical to a word, and the principal difference between the two is that a morpheme may or may not stand alone, whereas a word, the definition is a freestanding unit of meaning. Every word completes one or more morphemes. And classification of morphemes, free versus bound, in every morpheme can be classified as either free or bound. These categories are mutually exclusive, and as such, a given morpheme will belong to exactly one of them. Free morphemes can function independently as well, like town, dog, and can appear with other lexemes like town hall, dog house. Bound morphemes appear only as part of word, always in conjunction with a root and sometimes with other bound morphemes. For example, an appear only accompanied by other morphemes to form a word. Most bound morphemes in English are affixes, particularly prefixes and suffixes. Their nomenclature derived from the non-affix function of brain in the word and body, and about derivational versus inflectional. One morphemes can be further classified as derivational or inflectional. Derivational morpheme, when combined with a root, change either the semantic meaning or part of speech of the affected word. For example, in the word happiness, the addition of the form of firmness to the root happy changes the word from an adjective is happy to noun is happiness. In the word unkind, unfunctioned as a derivational morphem for it invert the meaning of the word from by the root kind. Inflectional morphem modify of tense or unknown number without affecting the word meaning or class. Example of playing inflectional morphem to word adding s to the root dog to form dogs and adding up to white to form whited. And both are more are variant of a morphem that differ in pronunciation but are semantically identical. For example, in English, the plural marker he is of regular nouns can be pronounced said as or is depending on the final sound of the noun singular form. And that's all from me. If there is a wrong word, I apologize and thank you.